age is about 15, and that was 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah.
15.
Yeah,
Years old.
15 years old. So if we have the new KDHS coming in, I'm curious to see what the average debut age for sex is, right? So the fact is, it's happening. Why not give them the correct information? The churches, yes, continue to preach abstinence, but also be realistic and say, fine, you can abstain, but if you do not,
Yeah.
this and this and this is what you need to do,
Yeah.
so that this and this does not happen.
Yeah.
So we have to have those real conversations. As parents, we like to push the obligation or that responsibility to teachers, to the school, but even at home, you have that responsibility to talk to your kids about safe sex and good choices.
Yeah.
So everybody has a role to play in terms of the government, and the government is broad, but we have to have laws that are aligning with the Constitution. The government needs to remember that it has it has obligations under international law, such as the Maputo Protocol and the United Nations Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. The government must, the government acts like international law is a suggestion. It is not a suggestion, it is legally binding. And so the government must make steps to fulfill the international obligations under international law and to fulfill the requirements under the Constitution, because that is the law and it's the most supreme law of the land, and it gives us protections and rights under SRHR.
Before we get into the fake doctor that's trending on social media and whether he should, get a lenient sentencing or not, we're going to ask you that question. It's 15 minutes to top of the hour. We need to also talk about the bill and, of course, Kenya and also part of East Africa. You've been part of that conversation as well. I see you're very passionate when you say the law must be respected.
Yeah.
And we must be serious about this conversation, not just as we commemorate, but just have it as an everyday conversation and keep this going. Where are we and what's the situation? Tell us about the bill and where this all began and where Kenya is placed in this conversation.
Right. So the East Africa Community Sexual and Reproductive Health Bill of 2021 is a bill that is on the floor of our Legislative Assembly at regional level. That's the IALA.
Yes.
And it was sponsored by a South Sudanese national who is representing his country on IALA, and his name is Honorable Kennedy Mukulia. So the East Africa SRHR bill basically talks about the issues I've highlighted here: assisted reproduction, access to safe abortion, contraception, menopause, and andropause. Andropause is the male version of the menopause. It talks about dignity and consent and gives protections to HIV, people living with HIV as well. So it's very comprehensive. And if you look at the Reproductive Health Bill of 2014, the Reproductive Health Bill of 2019, there's a lot of similarities. A lot of critics, people opposing this bill, talk about the issue of assisted reproduction as well as safe abortion and CSE, Comprehensive Sexuality Education. Now, one, to clarify that sexual and reproductive health and rights is not a foreign concept, as the opposition wants us to believe. Sexual and reproductive health and rights, we've seen assisted reproduction here in Kenya. There's some tribes that if I am not able to bear a child, then I will marry another lady to come and give birth on my behalf, where that child will then become mine. Now, this has been happening for the longest time. What this bill is doing is saying, yes, can we have a modern, ethical, and legal approach towards assisted reproduction? Opponents or critics of the bill are also talking about safe abortion, unsafe abortion, and they're saying that this talks about abortion, so we have to oppose it. I said every single day, at least seven women and girls are dying, right? I was in a meeting about 2 weeks ago or a week ago where a lady from Mathare said that when she goes outside, and Mathare is where there's a lot of the dumping, right? She goes outside and she sees kids kicking around, bottles and plates and whatever. And she also sees them kicking around fetuses. right?
That's devastating.
Yes. So the truth of the matter is criminalizing abortion does not make them stop. It only makes them more unsafe, right? And we have to look at this issue of safe abortion from a human rights lens, yeah, where I have autonomy to decide what it is that I want to do with my body for myself, right? So yeah, that bill talks about issues like that. It talks about contraception, access to contraception, so that we're not getting to a point where we actually need those abortions. So yeah, it's comprehensive in that way. And in July, there was a public participation on that bill, and people had the chance to write to the clerk of the assembly or to feed in their views as to where they want to see that bill going. So it's currently back at the Yala, and it will be coming up for a vote. But what excites me the most about this bill is that at regional level we have accountability. In Kenya, we don't have issues with our laws and policy. We have very solid legal and policy frameworks. The issue lies in the implementation of these laws. So if we go to the East Africa SRHR bill, we see that every 2 years, each country must report to the IALA as to where they have reached in terms of implementation